There have been some epic rivalries in the history of combat sports, and it looks like these boys aren't making peace anytime soon. More than 4 years after their epic encounter at UFC 229, the Notorious One and the Eagle are still taking shots at each other. Today, we'll be looking at the most recent exchange between the two and McGregor's future as a fighter. First up, the Dagestani crew is taking over. Ever since the passing of the great Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, the Eagle decided to hang up his gloves as a promise to his mother, and now he's a full-time coach to his brothers, who grew up with him in Dagestan under the coaching of their father. And tell you what, Coach Khabib is just as dominant as he was when he competed. The fighters he's bringing to these big organizations are winning, and it looks like everyone who trains with him is better for it. In October at UFC 280, Islam Makhachev completed his father's plan by winning the lightweight championship against Charles Oliveira. The goal was that Khabib would retire and Islam would take over the division. In Bellator, Usman Nurmagomedov captured the lightweight belt by beating the younger Pitbull brother in his dominant fashion. We've never seen two fighters out of the same camp win belts in the two biggest organizations at the same weight class. Many people consider Umar to be the future of the bantamweight division. His elite grappling combined with his flashy striking is a sight to behold. Within a few years, he'll probably be fighting for the title. Things have been looking pretty good for the Dagestani crew, and the credit goes to Khabib for filling his father's shoes. Next up, Khabib's comments on his team's performance. The Eagle landed in Canada recently, and he made a big media appearance in which the former lightweight champion was asked about his team's recent success. Khabib was proud that their team had a UFC and Bellator lightweight champion at the same time. He followed it up by mentioning his former opponent's words. After UFC Dublin, the Notorious One said that the Irish fighters aren't just there to take part, they're going to take over. And truly, it was a wonderful time for Irish fans, seeing McGregor at the top of the sport. But Khabib believes that the tide has since shifted. Now the Dagestani crew is here to take over. Now you might think this was a diss at Conor, or maybe a shout-out, but the UFC Hall of Famer is proud of what his team has accomplished. Khabib referenced a point he saw on the internet that said he and his brothers from that area have a combined record of 300 wins, which is legendary. His goal isn't to be a full-time coach. He just wants to help the people who were around him when he was fighting, because he feels like they helped him get where he is, and now he's got to pay them back. Now we'll look at what Conor had to say about Khabib's comments. We all know how it goes. The former double champion hears something and decides to tweet about it, and then it makes headlines. Conor didn't like hearing his own line being used by one of his rivals, so he decided to go after Khabib's legacy. He said that he's still fighting, but Khabib retired, which means he's winning. You may disagree, but the rules of the playground state that if you don't show up to a fight after school, you lost. And since Khabib plans on keeping his promise to his mother about never fighting again, Conor takes it as him running away from a fight. The Notorious One also mentioned that Khabib's father had a plan that would never be fulfilled because Khabib retired and Conor never got a rematch. McGregor said he was ready to go if Nurmagomedov wanted to step inside the octagon again. Being undefeated in MMA is a great accomplishment, but Conor thinks that everyone loses at some point, and Khabib's fear of losing means he's already lost. If anything, this encounter proves that there's still a lot of bitterness left, even after many years have passed. Daniel Cormier said after their post-fight brawl that these two would never be friendly with each other again. Guess he was right all along. Next up, Dan Raphael thinks that Conor doesn't have many fights left in him. Dan has been covering combat sports for quite a long time, and even though he doesn't claim to be an expert when it comes to the MMA, he certainly knows a lot about athletes and when their time is up. If you ask anyone who follows MMA, they'll tell you that Conor shouldn't be fighting anymore. Like Iron Mike once said, fighting isn't even for the street, it's for the gutter. So you can't be that rich and still be beating people up inside the cage. This makes fans respect the Irishman even more for still having the desire to compete in such a ruthless sport. But the question remains, how long can he keep doing this? And how much motivation does he have left? Raphael thinks that Conor might step inside the octagon a couple more times, maybe have an exhibition boxing match against Pacquiao and call it a day. Khabib thought Conor could have bounced back if it wasn't for his leg injury. This is also the first time in his career that he's coming off back-to-back losses, and both of them were to the same guy. We all know Dustin Poirier is one of the best in the world, and losing to him isn't anything to bang your head over, but it might be that Conor's days of making a run for for the title are behind him. McGregor will go down in the history books as one of the legends of this sport, and his accomplishments will be remembered long after he's gone. It's up to him to decide whether he wants to call it a day, and if he doesn't, there are still plenty of fun fights for him to be a part of. Up next, Artem Lobov is suing Conor for millions. Another edition of best friends turned enemies. Yes, the same guy for whom Conor flew all the way to Vegas in a private jet to pick a fight with Khabib and get arrested is suing him for his whiskey brand. The notorious one launched his Irish whiskey brand called Proper 12, paying homage to where he comes from. Since then, the whiskey brand has blown up, and Conor has made hundreds of millions. But his old friend isn't very happy that he's not getting a piece of it. Lobov claims that both of them came up with the idea together, and that means he should have gotten some of the share of the revenue. It was reported that Conor offered his old friend $1 million to avoid this issue, but Artem's lawyers are suing Conor for 5% of the revenue. If that's successful, Lobov would be walking away with around $30 million in his bank. That kind of money is life-changing. Neither party has spoken out about this issue, although their lawyers have claimed that the accusation from the other side is untrue. Artem retired from fighting a while ago, but many people don't know that the GOAT has a degree in finance and capital markets, so he probably knows what he's doing. We'll get more info as the case progresses, but this news came as a shock to many. Finally, Anthony Smith's steroid accusations. The former double champion hasn't been tested since 2022. Since then, USADA and Dana White have confirmed that he's officially out of the pool, and that means if he wants to compete again, he'd have to enter the pool again and wait 6 months before he's allowed to fight. That might make things even more complicated, since we already don't know if he's going to come back or not. Many fighters spoke about this issue and said that it's unfair that Conor hasn't been tested in a year, and it probably means that he's taking steroids. Why else would you not want to be tested? The former light heavyweight title challenger spoke on the Believe You Me podcast about this matter, and he thought that McGregor was definitely on the juice. If you see the Irishman's Instagram profile, he's always flexing his muscles and showing off how big and jacked he's gotten. Smith also commented on Conor's injury and said that his leg has healed unbelievably fast, whereas Chris Weidman, who also suffered a brutal leg injury, still hasn't recovered, even though he's had more time. According to Lionheart, this might have something to do with the PEDs Conor is taking while he's not in the testing pool. Anthony said that he's really bothered by the fact that Conor is doing this, and no other reason would make sense given the injury and time off. No one knows the reality of the situation, and all these are assumptions. But until Conor can get back into the pool, people will keep talking. That's a wrap for this video. What are your thoughts on Conor and Khabib's exchange of words? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.